KITTYCATPEACHPLAYS. Yes! Hello, Nyans, and welcome to another bite-sized kitty treat. I am your host, Peachy, and today we are playing Moonflower. Yay! Moonflower is a visual novel slash dating sim. Yes, that is a cat boy. I do so believe. You can believe your eyes, everyone. That is a cat boy. Is that the reason why I got this game? Maybe. Anyway, let's start. I hope it works. Oh, I guess I had to click it twice. Oh gosh. Okay, the potion bubbled gently under the man's watchful eye, occasionally sending up tiny wisps of white steam that smelled faintly earthy. Skylar reached for it. It wasn't anything extravagant, just a humble concoction of water, cucumber, and aloe vera, and yet it interested him greatly. The desired result was nothing more than simple ointment meant to heal minor burns completely when applied directly to the skin. Oh god. Oh, that's Skylar? Wait, the cat boy? I'm the cat boy? I'm given reason to believe that Skylar is the main character of this story? Like the MC or whatever. I guess that's me? I guess? I'm the cat boy? Oh my god, my dreams are coming true. Wow. I'm gonna turn up the volume just a little bit. I hope it doesn't go out of full screen. Okay. That's probably better. Yeah, okay. However... do I have to talk like a cat boy? He smiled to himself as he emptied a small bowl of crushed sylvite into the mixture. The concoction began to freeze before his very eyes, the sudden drop in temperature sending quickly spreading stress fractures throughout the glass vial. Everything inside turned brittle in an instant, and it only took an instant more for the entire beaker to shatter with a deafening crack. Skylar watched on in fascination. A reaction like that wasn't unheard of. In fact, it's exactly what he was aiming for. An ointment that would continuously cool a burn site over an extended period of time. If it worked as expected, then it would no doubt become an incredible tool for the kingdom. However, simply dropping the sylvite into the potion, which in itself was a mineral only rarely found in the dried-up ruins of ancient seas, caused a far too violent reaction. The freezing was too quick and far too powerful. But, if I can achieve a similar result with a more readily available reagent, something widely accessible, I did it again, that anyone could create with supplies found in their own home. He was certain, without a doubt, that the sylvite would act as a stepping stone, a bridge towards a potent cooling bomb that anyone could create. But for now, all he could note down was that sylvite was far too dangerous to be applied directly to the skin. For now, anyway. With deft hands, Skylar picked up an empty bottle and poured water into it. It sat still within the glass, unmoving, until he reached for the feather of a bird. The ingredients for a healing potion that's particularly potent and effective, though once again difficult for a common person to create. After all, not everyone had an abundant stock of bird feathers just lying about. All he needed to do now was add sand, fire powder, and eucalyptus leaf. 3 things he had ready in stock. But before he could gather the ingredients, a knock sounded at the door. Who could it be? Damn it all, visitors always come at the worst of times. With a small huff, Skylar placed the bottle back on the lab table and took a moment to compose himself. He straightened out his crimson-red vest before heading towards the door to open it. Oh, Olivia? That's an interesting way to spell it. Am I saying it correctly, do you think? Olivia? Olivia? I feel like it's Olivia, right? I hope I didn't catch you at a bad time. The perfectly put-together woman smiled brightly at Skylar. Her blonde hair was done up neatly in a ponytail. Wavy strands fell down either side of her face, framing her brilliant pink eyes. The familiar sight of her made him smile as he stepped aside, allowing her to enter. She's pretty. Your Highness, you should have called in advance. Oh, Your Highness! I guess she is kind of wearing like a crown thingy. He all but bowed down to the woman, who simply rolled her eyes and hit the top of his hat lightly with her gloved fingertip in response. Walking past the deeply bowing Skylar, she crossed the room, her hands carefully folded in front of her as she inspected the man's work. With a smile, she turned and looked back over her shoulder at Skylar, whose own gaze found hers instantly. Your Highness, and what shall I call you then? Would High Alchemist Skylar suit, good sir? If it pleases the lady, she may call me whatever she wishes. She laughed lightly at his response, as if the very notion was completely and utterly absurd. Stop with that nonsense, Nika. Who's Nika? Why is Skylar Nika? What's Nika? Oh, that's his first name. Eh? Okay then. Hearing the use of his first name, he immediately raised an eyebrow until he saw the smile that lit up the young princess's face. If it were anyone else. Did you come here to annoy me, my dearest princess, or are you looking for something specific from your loyal servant this fine morning? Whatever I came here for, it certainly wasn't for you to annoy me, my dear alchemist friend. With a chuckle at her own jest, Olivia walked forward again to come face to face with Skylar, standing only the tiniest bit shorter than he did. She looked up into his eyes with a sly smile on her lips. See how foolish we sound being so formal? I'm not a princess here. I come as your friend. Skylar returned the girl's warm smile and nodded in response, letting out a small sigh of relief as he accepted the shift in conversation. I know. So what brings you here then, Olivia? Come to request a potion? Or hear a story while you're passing through? None of those this time. She shook her head, her hair swishing softly behind her like a silk ribbon caught in a gentle breeze. Then to what do I owe the pleasure? Skylar dusted his hands off and leant against the table he'd only just been working at, giving Olivia his full attention. The young woman simply smiled, an apparent desire to extend the mysterious circumstances behind her visit, although Skylar already had a theory as to why she was here. What are you working on over here? Something new? She gestured toward the cracked vial with a raised eyebrow as she spoke. I can't help but notice it's, well, broken. Is that supposed to happen? You will not avoid my query with distraction, Olivia. But if you truly want to know, then yes and no. How curious, both yes and no? Please, elaborate. The result of the broken vessel is expected, given the ingredient's volatility, and yet it is also not the desired result. The royal's expression morphed into one of amazement. Her eyes widened as though he was speaking about a secret only shared in whispers. Inquisitive as ever, her thirst for the adventure of discovery was surely inherited from her queen mother. Perhaps just humoring her for a short while will do no harm. A knowing glint in his eye, he directed the princess's attention to the equipment she had been previously inspecting. Would you care to take a look? Her eyes almost sparkled as the realization, we're British spelling today, okay. As the realization dawned on her that she was about to get a first-hand lesson by the famed alchemist himself. You would show me? You truly don't mind? Do you wish me not to? He knew very well she would not reject such an opportunity, often scolded by her minders as a child for pestering the alchemist to share their secrets, something she had never quite outgrown. Huh. Now that you've teased me with such a thing, you are required by law to follow through. Olivia folded her arms over her chest and nodded her head, her stubborn declaration betrayed by the fact that she nearly vibrated with excitement. By law? How preposterous. Is that so, dear princess? I can't say it's a law I've ever heard of, but who am I to disagree with royalty? A hearty chuckle escaped him as his attentive student pretended she couldn't hear him. Once more, Skylar repeated his experiment, though this time being somewhat more sparing with his ingredients, lest he cause a royal incident that couldn't simply be explained away. And once more the vial began to splinter. Uh-oh. There it goes. Satisfied now? Now, princess, that's enough stalling. What is it that you came here for? Surely you have better things to do than watch glass break. Much to no one's surprise, the woman ignored his second question. Tell me, why does it do such a thing? Such a destructive and immediate reaction? And expected, but not desired? How so? How do you make it give you the... How do you make it give you the desired result? What is the desired result? She had 1,000 questions at the tip of her tongue, all prepared to be instantly launched at her feline-featured friend. Feline-featured friend? We love alliteration, and that is one of the cutest ones I've ever heard. Oh my god. Expected, but not desired indeed. Frowning lightly, Skylar returned to his rested position against a nearby desk, his ivory hand making a subtle ting as he retrieved a forgotten tea from the desk's surface. You won't answer? Is sharing knowledge not the purpose of an alchemist? Her face drooped in a pout, a tried-and-true tactic on anyone else. I seem to recall an unanswered question of my own. The princess sighed and cleared her throat before continuing. Fine. You know why I'm here. I've come to ask you to the Moonfair Festival. I'm already submitting the required materials for the ritual. You need not come here to ask. Oh, please. You know what I mean, Nika. She cut the man off sharply, lowering her eyes in a playfully contemptuous way. Why would I come all the way down here to ask for potions that I already know you're submitting? You're not the foolish type. Skylar sighed heavily as she continued talking, shaking his head slightly as he gave voice to his own thoughts. He spoke without even thinking about it, merely stating the obvious. I'm not going. His tone was direct and definitive. Even he hadn't anticipated the sharp edge his words had once spoken. It would mean the world to my father, and to me, of course, if you would at least consider it. Mean a lot to a king whose council barely tolerates my existence. This thought he would keep to himself, however. Olivia slowly bat her eyelashes towards him, a trick she used often to get what she wanted from potential suitors, guests of the kingdom, and even staff that waltzed around the palace halls. However, it was also a trick he knew well, and it had no effect on the High Alchemist. Skylar had known the princess for over 20 years, wow, and he'd even given her pointers in the past on how to deal with unruly people. Still, it didn't stop her from trying to play coy with him every now and then, though never with any real success. Skylar raised a brow and grinned, giving Olivia a look of disbelief as she made one last attempt to coax his participation into accepting her invitation. You truly have mastered the art of subtly getting what you want, my friend, but I will not put my personal comfort on the line just for appearances. You know how those nobles get. His nose scrunched up as he said that word, like he had just smelled something foul. There was nothing like the stench of high society nobility to make an otherwise perfectly good day turn sour. They swarm me because I'm a felinus? If it's like feline, it's probably felinus. It's rather vexing. Then just cover up your ears and tail. I mean, I guess they already know. You can hardly blame them. There aren't very many left of your kind, so they're entranced. I do not think they mean to harm you in any way. Really? What about Lady Ogreen, who always demands to be allowed to touch my tail? What of her? She offered the man a weak smile, but pursed her lips to speak nonetheless. I'll be by your side. You can be my personal guest. I dare any noble to speak out of place with me in their presence. She grinned wider now, this time bearing some sparkling white teeth. Her eyes twinkled with challenge behind her long lashes as she looked back at Skylar. Duke Fargus owes us gold for a bridge we are funding for his nation, and Duchess Pellegrine needs our favor to help push forward a proposal she's drafting regarding magical law. Neither will push against me lest they fall out of our dear father's favor. And what of Lady Ogreen? Hardly a problem, like a fly that need only be swatted away. She made the motion with her hand, swatting away an invisible bug. The princess gave him a confident nod as if to say that such problems would never trouble him when he was at her side. This is a momentous occasion for the kingdom, but also for you and your studies. You deserve to be celebrated for your work, in person. And I could use the company if I'm being honest. She offered up the last part with a sheepish smile, a small, intrepid thing that was enough to pull at Skylar's heartstrings, more than her batting her eyelashes ever could. Aww. Because it's a real smile, not just a coy, fake smile. What do you say? Oh, please, Nika, join us? Skylar shut his eyes tightly, placing his index finger against the bridge of his nose. He inhaled sharply, drawing the strength to give his answer, a simple and meek answer. Fine. Fine? The young princess's eyes lit up as she practically jumped up and down in place. Leaning towards her longtime friend, her cheeks were flushed pink with excitement, with a wide grin on her face as she stared at Skylar in disbelief. Did I hear you correctly? You did, but if you keep it up, I'll change my answer. I'm doing this for you, but you'll owe me something in return. A favor. Of course! My resources are always at your disposal. You need just ask. And I will, one day. However, Skylar was positive that even if he were dying, he would use all of the resources at his disposal before even thinking of requesting a favor from the princess. She was a dear friend to him, but even more so, she was one of the few people left in the world he cared enough about to suck up his pride and let himself be gawked over for a few hours by an endless parade of high society nobles. A few hours, it's just a few hours. That's all it'll take to make her... That's all it will take to make her knight, even if it means facing Lady Ogreen and her ridiculous demands. Hopefully I won't regret it. He raised both hands above his head in surrender as he said those words out loud as well as to himself. He turned back to his workstation with another sigh as he began sorting through some potions on the table in front of him. Crack! Uh-oh. A piercing shriek reverberated through the laboratory. Yeah! Tiny projectiles rocketing through the space at an alarming speed. What was that? Eyes wide, the girl retreated from the assorted equipment as though her very life flashed before her eyes. A sight Skylar could not help but smile at. What did you touch? What? Nothing! Of course she touched nothing. Forgive me, princess, but an opportunity such as that so rarely follows the delivery of a request such as you've had. Skylar approached the offending bench, picking up the remainder of the destroyed bottle. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. It would appear our little experiment has decided to demonstrate what happens when one does not pay close enough attention to their surroundings. Olivia placed a hand over her racing heart, taking several deep breaths as she attempted to calm herself. You did that on purpose, didn't you? She wrinkled her nose at the alchemist. I am quite certain I have done no such thing. Skylar shook his head. Olivia narrowed her gaze at him in suspicion for a moment longer before her expression shifted. You jest, princess. If I were to do anything to put you in any sort of danger, the punishment would be severe. I don't wish for my head to be in a basket particularly. I suppose you're right. Composing herself, Olivia approached the felinous... Is it really felinous? Felonous. It's either... It sounds like... Felinous? I don't like the I sound in that, but felonous, it sounds like a felon, like someone in jail. It's gotta be felinous, right? Because it's like feline. Felinus. Maybe it's felinus. Felinus. Dude, I'm never gonna say it right. Olivia approached the felinus cautiously. Today is not the day for such a fright, Nika. Skylar chuckled in response. Indeed, you are correct. Perhaps a lesson in indulging the requests of royalty. An offended gasp met his playful suggestion. Humph, I wouldn't go that far. An unexpected reaction from a harmless exercise, that's all. Incorrigible, exactly like her mother. As you say, princess. As you say, princess. Skylar glanced out of the corner of his eyes at the young woman as she struggled to contain herself. It only took their eyes meeting for her to erupt in giggles a moment later. I do so enjoy your company, my dear friend. I suppose your presence is acceptable. Olivia playfully swatted at the older male's hat once more. How rude! Without me, you'd never leave this strange place. Without you, I would never have returned to this palace at all, Princess Olivia. She would never know that, of course. Strange is subjective, don't you think? Putting aside talk of that, though, I had a query. How fares the town preparations? Skylar brought a finger to his lips, deep in thought of the busy markets in the town below, which were probably even more busy with the upcoming celebration. The town? I can only assume it proceeds smoothly. I have not heard any reports otherwise, so I would like to believe that means it's going well. Good. Good. Does something concern you, Nika? Concern? Of course not. I had thought to venture out below to replenish some of my supplies. However... Olivia giggled knowingly. It was already obvious to the princess what was going on. However, you didn't want to get stuck engaging in celebration preparations. Skylar nodded solemnly. I think you should go. Nika, you might even find the markets fun. You do know what fun is, don't you? Lest I repeat myself, being gawked at by the citizenry is not my idea of fun. Olivia sighed, although her smile never left her face. At least you can go. Skylar offered her a sympathetic smile. Being princess and moonseer... Well, I wonder what that is. Moonseer. Came with many restrictions. While he was treated with fear, intrigue, and sometimes lust, Olivia was a precious doll to be displayed and immaculately maintained. It was an unlikely friendship between the pair, but one born of mutual societal pressure. Father will be curious as to where I've been all this time. I cannot stay. However, it has been great fun, as always. Perhaps next time you'll be visiting for pleasure and not the request of work. Skylar offered the girl a sly grin, and she giggled in response, nodding along in agreement. An innocent little motion of pure joy he wished she would spare on others aside from him and a few other very special people. She had a wonderful laugh, like a light spring breeze whistling across a quiet glade after a long winter's nap. It was delightful, the sort of sound that filled any heart that heard it with warm satisfaction, despite whatever troubles or concerns they might have faced that day. The princess was indeed good company. She was pleasant to spend time with, quick to laugh at a joke, and kind to everyone who came in contact with her. Perhaps so, High Alchemist Skylar. With her parting words left hanging in the air between them, Olivia slipped out of the room once more. Skylar stared at the door for a moment before returning his attention back to the potion he had left on his table what felt like forever ago. Oh, she kind of just zoomed out of there. Goodbye, Olivia. An unsettled Skylar stood motionless in a deserted courtyard, worry etched into his otherwise soft features. He was apprehensive in a way he could not quite explain, more so than was reasonable for a simple festival. There was something sharp on the wind. The aura of the palace felt almost wrong somehow. Perhaps he was simply overly worried for his beloved princess. Sometimes he felt he was the only one who actually genuinely cared for her as a person, beyond her title and birthright. Would that you were here, Vera. Your little girl could desperately use the support of her mother tonight. Ahem. The felinist's ears twitched. Ahem. Slightly louder this time. Not even a moment to my own thoughts these days. Can I help you with something? A knight stood before him. Ooh, a sudden shyness fallen over his features as the alchemist turned his attention to him. Oh, he's cute! Sir, the princess has sent summons for your attendance at the commencement of the moonflower ball, sir. Does he fear me, or is this stutter a natural one? Well, I suppose it matters not. It would not do to cause him to fail his mission by refusing. It seems the princess has doubts that I will keep my promise to her. I cannot say, sir. I jest, sir, The knight looked alarmed as he scrambled to answer, his words getting stuck in his throat. Wesley Siddell, my lord. Has no one asked this poor fool his name before? Oh, they're dark because it's nighttime, and they're in the shade, I think. I think that's why it's kind of like dark. Siddell. Siddell? Siddell, as in Knight Marshal Garrick Siddell? His son, sir. I see. This must be the younger son of that pompous oaf. So the lower-ranked son gets sent on an errand. Well, Sir Wesley, you may tell Her Highness I will be along shortly. I wish but a few more moments to prepare myself for... He gestured weakly towards the ballroom. Yes, Lord High Alchemist, sir. He managed to say that without a stutter. Sir? Skylar glanced at the man. He was fidgeting and shifting his feet as though he had something to say. Was there something else? No, not exactly, sir. I just... this is getting bothersome. Speak freely if you have something to say. The knight took a breath and nodded. I'm surprised to see you in attendance, sir. The, staff and security were told you wouldn't be coming. It was not my first choice of activity tonight, or even my second. You may thank a very persuasive princess for the change of plans. Sir Wesley smiled at that, all nervousness melting away. Oh, this is an interesting change. So the knight is interested in the princess. She's amazing, isn't she? She's not like the other nobles. She actually cares about the people around her, learns the names and families of all her attendants, even when the other nobles tell her not to bother. I don't blame you for not wanting to be around them. Aw, not a fan of the nobility, then. You're not what I expected, either, if it's okay to say, sir. Schuyler shifted his stance to better see the young knight before him. Fluffy brown hair, freckles, and pale green eyes, adorable. He was cute by human standards. He couldn't help but wonder if Olivia had actually ever met this boy before, for he would have surely heard about him if she had. The visual inspection appeared to alarm Wesley even more, the boy rushing to explain himself. Wait, that came out wrong. It's just, guards are taught to leave the alchemists alone, that they do important work, but, they are skilled and talented individuals in natural and scientific studies, but who have remarkably little social abilities. Wesley couldn't help but laugh. Yes, my lord, exactly that. But more so, well, you're, not human. His statement was blunt and matter-of-fact. He knew exactly how the Knight Marshal in particular felt about him, the son of a disaster, a non-human entity who must be closely monitored and little interaction given. His role as High Alchemist granted to him solely by demand of the Queen. Wesley nodded apologetically, treated with either fear, disgust, or possibly the worst of all, something exotic to possess. Well, as you can see, you have nothing to fear in that regard. Me, however... He glanced towards the outer doors that would lead them through the main hall, throne room, and into the ballroom tonight's opening ceremony was being held in, his frown deepening the longer he looked. My lord? Schuyler snapped out of his daze. Sir Wesley? Might I escort you to the hall on behalf of Her Highness? Aww. Huh, seems Citadel's youngest is quite sweet after all. You aren't worried about being gobbled up by the hungry nobles? No, sir. Only my older No, sir. My older brother is the only one of interest to them. I think I will be quite safe. It would be my honor, Lord High Alchemist, sir. The young knight looked up at him with a mix of innocent sincerity, slight worry of rejection, and pure hope in his eyes. He wasn't the tallest himself, and this young man was even shorter than he was. Is he? They look about the same height, actually. Maybe he is a little bit shorter. The hat is probably covering, like, the very top of his head. They look honestly about the same. Anyway, perhaps there's hope for Olivia's guards yet. You can simply call me Lord Schuyler, Lord High Alchemist. That should be a semicolon. You can simply call me Lord Schuyler. Lord High Alchemist is far too long and pretentious. Either a semicolon or like those 2 dashes. The young man nodded in acknowledgement and agreement. Very well, Sir Wesley, it would be my honor. The knight bowed deeply before turning on his heel and marching towards the door. His enthusiasm was almost blinding. Oh, here we go. The muffled sound of a large crowd reached Schuyler from behind the intricate wooden doors of the middle ballroom. Here the celebrations would begin. The aristocrats would arrive to enjoy some light refreshments alongside their noble companions before being welcomed by the king and other members of the court. Mixing and mingling was like a game of chess to them all, every piece carefully planned out to maximize influence while maintaining political alliances. The celebration would last 1 week, ending on the night of the silver moon, where the moon seer would conduct a ritual to imbue the moonflower with energy from the rare moon. I'm noticing that there's some periods missing at the end of some of these sentences. I'm wondering if that's like a British thing or if it's just that the person writing this got lazy or something. The humans knew little about the why of these rituals, why each piece of this carefully crafted ceremony had to be just so. They simply learnt enough to keep themselves in power. A power that was wanting more and more each and every day. If the ritual failed, their way of life, and maybe their lives themselves, would be over. Are you ready to enter, Lord Schuyler? No, but there are many things in life we must do before we're ready. Schuyler fiddled with the collar of his vest, adjusting and readjusting, knowing full well none of his actions made any difference. A soft rumble came as the ballroom's doors were opened. It's a little loud. A soft rumble came as the ballroom's doors were opened, revealing a scene filled with glittering lights, laughter, music, and conversation. I do find it curious, Sir Wesley. The young man glanced at him confused, maintaining a vigilant guard over his assumed charge. This is the rear door to this particular ballroom. Yes, sir. I thought maybe you would prefer to enter more discreetly than the main entrance. Indeed. I owe you my thanks for your forethought. Princess Olivia has a fine messenger at her disposal. I shall be sure to compliment your performance. After I have once more expressed my disapproval of being forced to attend such an event, of course. The knight smiled, unable to hide his blush at the thought of being complimented to the princess. Of course, it was my honor to escort you, my lord. Should you need anything else, you have but to ask. Another deep bow and the knight was gone, consumed by the growing crowd filling the room. Surprisingly sweet, all things considered. Schuyler made his way to a presently unoccupied corner of the large room, his eyes drifting over the growing crowd. One thing about parties hosted by nobles he could always get enjoyment out of was the fashion. There were simple dresses. We're panning across an empty ballroom, but okay. There were simple dresses, plain colors, and modest styles, all the way up to dramatic gowns and experimental uses of items attached to bonnets. Feathers and tulle, layers of sparkling stones, glimmering fabrics, it seemed every person present was dressed with intent. Gentlemen wore their finest suits and top hats, many sporting intricately designed monocles and expensive pocket watches. Each couple appeared to be attempting to outdress all others attending, to the point he wondered if there was some kind of prize for the most inventive outfit. It was a festival after all, perhaps it was an actual planned activity. As the venue filled, so too did Schuyler's tolerance for the noise and crowd dissipate. He had had his fill of his people watching. The grandeur may have been a fine sight to behold for many, but not him. It was easy for him to understand why people would want to celebrate during the Moon Fair. It was a festival specifically designed for celebration, and a rare one at that. Not a single other person in this room was likely to have been alive at the last one. Even the royal family, whose connection to the moonflower granted them extended lifespans, had all perished since the last celebration. Really? The royal family has extended lifespans. So does that mean... Wait, so Schuyler... I guess the Felinus can live for a really long time, right? The only soul to have seen the previous festival was himself. Yeah, okay, so he has lived for a really long time. Oh no. Oh, it's time. Oh no, it's time to end the episode. Let's try to get to a good stopping point. Like, let's see once this explanation is over. People enthusiastically gathered to see the magic of their kingdom replenished, to participate in history itself. Still, it didn't make the idea any less repulsive for the Felinus. Schuyler could feel the anxiety and disdain rising within him. He understood the excitement. He had felt it once himself. A mere child at the time, he had been in attendance at the last Moon Fair. He had witnessed the week-long fanfare, the rituals, and the merrymaking. Though all of the glamour and breathtaking fascination, the picture of his mother's smiling face, the woman he adored most in the world. A sparkling smile comparable to the crystal chandeliers was always on her face. A smile he had not seen in nearly 90 years? Dang. A fact that had followed him every day since, but one that he hadn't had to experience so viscerally in years. A fact which only compounded his worry for the princess. Snapping his eyes to the doorway, Schuyler began his search for the lovely Princess Olivia. Had she not coerced him to come, he would have simply left his alchemic contribution with the royal advisor and been done with it all. Now, where could this troublesome princess be? I think that's where we will end it. Okay. Is it saved now? Save. Return. It looks okay. Oh, it's fine. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you for coming to this bite-sized kitty treat. Maybe we'll continue this story. It seems pretty interesting so far. It's a little slow going, but hopefully if people are, hopefully people won't mind that. I don't really mind it. I like getting a good, experience of the setting and the characters. It's kind of nice. So we'll see. But anyway, thank you for coming, and I'll see you in the next biscuit. Bye-bye!